Welcome to the second installment of the First Experience, where we take alumni from First and talk with them about their cool experiences up to this point. This episode, we're joined by Chambers Fu, another Technicbots 8565 member who specialized in hardware and CAD. I highly recommend that you go watch the first video in the series if you haven't already, as it will give you a lot of good context to this video. It's linked in the description as well. Also, you'll hear CAD be referenced a lot in this video. CAD stands for Computer-Aided Design if you didn't know. In a nutshell, it allows you to model almost any 3D thing, including robots, into a computer program to check for design flaws. Look it up if you want to learn more. Anyhow, enjoy the video. Hello, Chambers. Nice to meet you.
Ayush.
So, if you could briefly describe yourself for me, how would you describe yourself?
How would I describe myself? I'd say I started in FTC later than most of my fellow 8565 members. I started in second half of ninth grade, and then I basically was a builder on the team, and then I got a little bit into CAD and programming once FGC started, but I was mostly just on the hardware team.
Nice. And when did you get involved in any other first programs before you started FTC?
No, I wasn't. I didn't even know First existed until ninth grade.
So before you joined FTC, in your, say, first semester of ninth grade, in your best way, how would you describe yourself then?
I'd say I had a little bit more freedom to build whatever I wanted to, because first semester of ninth grade I was working on a drone to just for fun, just to fly around my neighborhood and grab some aerial shots. It was for a photography drone. So I'd say I was working on electronics projects by myself, and I was somewhat related to robotics, but it wasn't exactly robotics.
Yeah, I can understand that. And then personality-wise, how would you say you were?
Personality-wise, a little bit antisocial, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, because I wasn't working with a team. I was just working by myself on my projects. Every project was solo, so I had more freedom to plan it out the way I wanted to, and just go at it how I saw fit.
Right. And so when you joined FTC, I'm assuming that all changed.
Yeah, obviously, because I'm on a team of 13, 14 people, so I can't just go whatever way I wanted to.
So how did you discover First?
How did I discover First? I think it was one of my mom's friends saw that I was working on all these projects on my own, and then they thought that I would be a good fit for their team because they had a few graduating seniors, so they were having spots opening up.
Right. And when you started FTC, were you just immediately into it, hammering out projects, building the robot or whatever? Or did it take you time to really get into that grinding mode?
Of course it took me time to get into that grinding. It's a completely new environment, right? Because you're working on a team, for the first time. And then, most of my projects were more electronics based. And then moving over to FTC, it's more mechanical. I'm trying to build some kind of subsystem, to pick up a ring or something for the ultimate goal season. So that was kind of a little bit of a transition for me. I don't think it took too long, but if you looked at some of the first things I built, dang, they were not good.
And so when you started learning CAD, when did you really start learning CAD?
I've always used Blender for CAD, so technically I started learning that in 7th grade. But I didn't really start getting good at it until I went into FTC and started actually using that for robotics.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you started CAD, would you say that it is more effective than just building a robot from scratch, or would you say it's just as effective, or maybe building it is more effective?
I'd say most of the time it is more effective to go ahead and start your design in CAD, just because it's much faster to move things around in a computer and see where the problems start, rather than trying to actually build something out, cut all the metal, bend or print 3D pieces to fit your design, only to find out that none of it works because you have some arm that's going to collide with some other part of the robot. So I'd say most of the time CAD is definitely more important to start out with.
For sure. And so when you did FTC, and your first year was probably mainly learning year, so you joined 8565 Technicbots as soon as you started FTC?
Yeah, I did join 8565 my first year, and I started out building the intake design, and that's what I did the entire season, and that's what I've been doing for all the FTC seasons.
So you've probably been extremely good.
Yeah, no, I guess you could say
Don't worry about humility. Don't worry about that. Okay, and then so you do first, and your first competition that you go to, no pun intended on first and first, but your very first competition that you go to, how would you say that the dynamic was unexpected to you, or you did not expect it to be like when you were by yourself, frying the donut in who knows where?
I was a lot more energetic. Like you could feel the energy of all the teams, and I felt like I was going to an actual event that I wanted to participate in, rather than just going out to test out my project. I remember there was the one time, or during my first competition, Patrick was like, if you're a first time FTC team, like raise your hand. And I didn't even know whether to raise my hand or not because it was my actual first competition. I just thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Like I didn't end up raising my hand. Just like I knew 8565 was the whole team, but yeah, I still remember my first competition.
Yeah. And do you think that as you go to more and more competitions, you really find it like you're viewing this in a completely new way? You first came at it as a competition. Now you're kind of learning it as a sort of a game where you're going. Well, let's see.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like as I went to more and more competitions, it did start feeling more like I was going to a swim meet or some kind of sports event rather than just a competition. Because everyone there it's like teams playing against each other, right? Like the entire game is designed to almost feel like a sports game.
Right.
So and especially at the end where you get to the higher levels and you have the giant crowds cheering you on, it really does just feel like a sports game.
And when you are in, or you're not maybe not in the field, but you're with your teammates on the side, and you're hearing about 100 people all saying Technicbots at the exact same time. How does that feel when you have so many people cheering on your team?
It feels like there's a little bit of pressure because so many people are expecting us to do it. So we're just hoping our robot doesn't malfunction or nothing, no screws fall off while we're playing the game.
So in all of your time doing FTC, what would you say is your most memorable moment that sticks in your mind more than anything else you've ever done before?
The most memorable moment would probably be when our Sideclaw during the Skystone season failed during what was it, regional championship. So it was the game that we needed to go to Worlds, and we learned that basically our servo we didn't replace it the entire season, and it failed during that one game we needed to win. So that was pretty cool. But we learned to make sure to check all our motors, check all our servos, and if they haven't been replaced for a while, then replace them right before the big competitions. So that was a pretty valuable lesson, and we were able to learn from it and succeed in later seasons.
Of course, though. I mean,
just that one.
Yeah, but I guess you went to Worlds the next season and then the next season after that. So
Yeah.
Well, there was no Worlds in Ultimate.
Well, yeah.
But
We went to Texas Cup.
Texas Cup. So and then you went to Worlds again in Freight Frenzy.
Yeah.
And then you go to Worlds, you get first inspired, so you win the entire thing, and then now you're being represented to first global. So in Ultimate Gold season, where you didn't necessarily know you were going to be, representing the United States of America like you did when you won first inspired Worlds, when you were informed that you would be representing the nation that you live in to do this Olympic style first competition, it must be such an incredible feeling. Could you just describe that for me?
Okay, do you want the honest answer or do you want
honest answer? If you don't find it big at all, that's cool.
I was okay. So when they first announced it, coach, it was over a Zoom meeting, right? I could hear coach cheering and stuff, and I was on the field with John working on the robot. I was like, crap, I have to do this over the summer. I was not happy about it, to be honest with you. But hey, it ended up working out.
I guess
because it was gonna interfere with my college applications a little bit. So I was like, I kind of don't want to do this any longer because I thought I was gonna be done with FDC after Ultimate Gold, So I was just kind of hoping to get out.
Well, I mean, I think it worked out because you won first global pretty much. And I guess that's good for your college application to say oh yeah, we're the grand winner of the entirety of first global.
Yeah, it definitely looked good on the college.
Yeah, for sure. And
I'm glad I was actually able to do it because some of the projects in there were pretty suited towards me, like the CubeSat one. I got to program Arduinos and stuff. I found that pretty fun.
Yeah, And if you could briefly describe First Global to people that are watching that don't necessarily know what it is, you can just kind of like explain what it is.
Okay, so First Global is a Olympic style challenge where one team from each country, representing that country, of course, gets together and competes in, well, I don't know, in Olympic style robotics competition. So for last year, for most years, it's like at an actual place, and it's just one competition. But like for last year, it was all virtual. So what they did was they gave us three separate competitions: the solutions challenge, the robotics challenge, and then the CubeSat challenge. So the solutions challenge was basically find something that's wrong with your um, community and come up with a robotic solution to it. And then the robotics challenge was, well, they sent you a kit of Reddit parts, and that was all you were allowed to use to build a few robots to do a few simple tasks. Like the one I built was the Climate Chaos Challenge. It was basically a robot that can hang onto a bar and basically do a pull up, and it had to weigh at least like 20 kilograms. I don't remember what weight it was, but you get the point. And then the CubeSat challenge was building a cube satellite, so a 10 centimeter cube. It's a really small satellite that you would launch into the atmosphere and then collect data to basically, well, you had to identify your own problem and then collect data using that satellite and like help contribute to a solution for that problem. So for the CubeSat challenge, we did atmospheric pollution, like we wanted to collect some data on the particulate pollution up in the atmosphere, so we launched a weather balloon up there.
Nice. And that CubeSat is probably in somebody's backyard now.
Yeah, we were able to track it down because a few things we neglected were that GPS stop, or most civilian GPSs, they stopped working at a certain altitude, like in the stratosphere. Our weather balloon went higher than that, so it stopped working altogether. And another thing is that when you're that high in the atmosphere, it starts getting really cold, right? Lithium batteries don't like it cold. So like once it drops below freezing, lithium batteries basically stop working. We put a few hand warmers inside our CubeSat to try to prevent that, but I don't know if it was. So like we lost communications with our satellite when it was like 14 kilometers in the air, and that's the last reading we got from it.
So when launching the CubeSat, was that your most memorable moment of First Global?
Yeah, probably. I'd say so because like it was a really fun challenge, and we actually got to do something, and we launched it as a team. Like everyone was there, and like we had a huge countdown and everything, and like just tracking it was quite an entertaining experience.
And then now let's go to this year's season, or I should say last season, which is Freight Frenzy. And you again are informed that you're going to be representing the United States of America 2 years in a row. So I can imagine again must be incredible. It must be an incredible feeling. So again, did you know that you were going to be representing the United States when you got that first Inspire Award?
I mean, yeah, we pretty much knew because like normally for like the Inspire Award winner at Worlds gets to represent Team USA as well, it gets to represent Team USA at first bowl. So we kind of knew once we got the award, and like we were all super happy and stuff once we got the award because it's a giant award anyway in the first place. Yeah.
If you could like, how big is like the actual award? Like I don't know, signal it with your hands.
Oh, it's the exact same size as the rest of the
Really?
posters you get, like for Inspire Women.
Oh.
Or like, yeah, it's the same size. No, it's not any big. It's the exact same size. The trophy was like this tall.
Okay.
So that was pretty nice.
Okay, and then so you go to First Global, pretty much, or sorry, you go to Worlds, and you win the whole thing. What was that feeling? What was going through your mind when you hear 8565 Technicbots being called for the Inspire Award winner, which is the biggest award in the entire event?
I didn't really believe it at first, but then I was like, okay, yeah, well, we did do a lot this season. Maybe we did deserve it. So I was pretty surprised, to be honest. But at the same time, afterwards, looking back on it, I was like, okay, like it kind of makes sense. Like we put in a lot of hard work this season, so maybe like we did actually earn that award.
Right, and then I was talking to John a couple days ago, and he said that 8565 wasn't called for any of the awards because they only call you for the award you're actually like winning. So imagine you're going through the entire award ceremony and you don't hear 8565 Technicbots. So how does that feel to you?
I was like, did we just get disqualified again? Because like there was this one time during one of the qualifiers a few years back, and like apparently, well, we're all super excited at the competition, so we got like a little bit too competitive. Like we were yelling at each other, and like the judges saw that, or someone saw that, and like they didn't like our attitude, and we ended up getting disqualified from all the awards. And like one of the judges came up to us after the competition and like had a talk with us, and I was like, I was thinking, did that happen again? So I was a little bit concerned.
So you go from hope to concern when you don't hear your name called, and then it just bang, and your emotions go through the roof when you know that you just won.
Yeah, pretty much, pretty much.
That's an incredible experience.
Yeah.
So when you've done first, and people that are watching probably haven't been doing first a lot, or they might be in first, or they might be first joining. Well, the thing is, there's a lot of people here and that are watching right now. Many of them don't have experience. What do you think is the best reason for anybody to really get into first?
Well, first of all, you get to like work as a team, right? Like in school, you might do an occasional like group project here and there, and like someone's normally like carrying one of those projects, someone else is slacking off. That can't happen on a robotics team. You can't have anyone slacking off because like you basically need everyone contributing like something for the team to actually work. And if someone is slacking off, then like your team probably isn't going to do that well because like when judging comes, it's going to be quite obvious. So another reason to join is like you actually learn a lot of stuff. Like I basically learned CAD software because I was on this robotics team. Like beforehand, I didn't know. I kind of knew CAD, but I really wasn't that great at it. Like, and you also get to learn a lot about like just hardware design and electronics in general. So it's a lot of valuable STEM skills to have. And if you're like a programmer, you'd be going into like OpenCV and like computer vision. So it's like your first, like it might be your first time trying out AI and like and probably your first time writing like a huge program because like the program that goes onto your robot you have to write the autonomous program, the teleapp program. Like there's a lot that goes into making a robot. So I'd say a lot of that is like extremely valuable experience, and it's like something good that goes on your college resume.
Hey, I think that's a pretty good motivation for
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like at the end of the day in high school, most of the things you do are trying to like just build up your college resume.
Yeah. So when you do CAD or you do building, what do you say is the time commitment that you have to put in every single week to really be contributing to the team?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so for personally for my time commitment when I was like actually like trying to design a subsystem and like put it on the robot, get it working and stuff, I'd say probably around a good 20 hours a week. It was basically a part-time job. I was like, go to school and then like go to afternoon swim practice and then robotics for the rest of the day, pretty much. And then same thing over the summer as well. Like when we were doing first global, I was like go to work for 8 hours and then come home, take it like a quick hour nap or so, and then like go work on the robot for the rest of the day, and then go home and sleep.
So you
That's
did, you did,
basically.
you did an internship?
Um. Uh, yeah, it was more of a job. I was like repairing network quite a bit.
So yeah, repairing network equipment. People always, before I talk to you, people always said you could repair anything. So like, how did you gain this reputation, if you will?
That goes like quite a long time back. So like in around fifth grade or so, I started like I built my first flashlight. Simple, super simple circuits, just batteries, LED, pretty easy, right? Well, for some reason that like just really interested me into electronics, and then I just kept on going from there. I started like building more projects, like a remote controlled LED, and then I think I built a refrigerator for my eighth grade science fair project. Just getting more and more advanced into electronics, and then along with that comes like a little bit of reverse engineering here and there to see like how things work. So like I take things apart and then like figure out how they work, like reverse engineer small parts of this circuit to like learn a few things here and there. So that's basically how I got into electronics, and like once you get into electronics, like you can see how things work, and then you can basically fix them. So like I fixed a few small things here and there, like monitors, rice cookers, like all sorts of things.
And now you, or at least for the past couple of years, you've basically fixed people's stuff and then you've made some money through that as well, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Like, on the side, I kind of buy a few broken phones off of eBay, fix them up, and then resell them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's smart. Yeah, and it clearly takes a lot of knowledge about how this stuff works in order to do that. So there is a lot of utility in learning how to fix these things.
And I'd say it definitely also helps out with like robotics because like things break on the robot all the time, and at a competition, you need to be able to figure out what's going on with your robot if something goes wrong like instantly because you only have like 10-15 minutes to fix it between matches, or at least for a qualifier you might have a little bit more time if you're at worlds or like some other big competition, but you need to be able to figure out, hey, this arm isn't raising up, like, go in with a multimeter, probe like which motor is going bad, and then or like see like if there's a gear that's like has missing teeth or something. So I'd say it definitely also helps out.
Yeah, for sure. So going back on the time commitment thing, I can imagine that balancing your work at Lebanon Trail High School and also doing FTC on the side, it can be a little bit of a challenging thing, especially when you're taking AP classes or other things that require a lot of time commitment. So how did you go about managing your time in order to make sure that you have enough time to get good grades and be good at robotics?
Okay, so for school-wise, none of the classes were really too hard, except for like, maybe English and history, because, I'm more of a STEM guy, so most of the science classes, I could, like, just learn the lesson in class, and then we would have a little bit of downtime in class most of the time, and I would just try to finish my homework before the class even ended. So that's what I was doing, like, at school, to, like, avoid doing homework at home. And then, like, for English classes and like history classes, I actually had to put in just a little bit of effort outside of class as well to like review the slides, like look at the textbook, all that stuff. So school, I'd say in general, it wasn't too bad, especially because like I could finish most of the things I needed to do in school, and like for Frisco ISD, we have an hour for lunch.
Okay.
So that's like really helpful because like during that hour you're allowed to go anywhere in the school, like go visit any teacher if you needed help, and like just do homework or play on your phone if you're bored. So I finished like a lot of homework, and if I needed help out, like I just went to the teachers during that time.
So you go to Worlds, and then you realize that your hardware, there was a part in the robot that did not work correctly, right?
Worlds? I don't.
Or not Worlds, yeah, Worlds, right? Yeah, because I was talking to John, and he was like, that we had to stay up multiple nights during Worlds in that first, or that couple of days, stay up until like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. to fix the robot.
Oh yeah, there was a camera that wasn't working.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there was a camera, and we were still designing the robot. Like we were adding anti-defense mechanisms onto there. Like we did that at Worlds overnight, basically, or at least John did that like overnight. He went crazy and stayed up till like 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so he was telling me about a little system that you guys had going on where the hardware people would stay up until like maybe 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and then the coding people would wake up and they'd go code at like 3 a.m.
Yeah, that happened at once. Yeah, because like the camera wasn't working, right? So John was like trying to add his anti-defense mechanism. So John was like working on it first for like from like after competition ended all the way up until 1 or 2 maybe, and then Anthony was like sleeping on the field on the side, and then like after John finished, I think he went in and like tried to figure out what was going on with the camera and like failing. I don't remember exactly what the issue was, but I think it was like a memory leak in his program. It was something crazy. Like I don't know. He's a little bit of a magical man. He was up. He couldn't figure it out for like a few hours. He took like a 10-minute nap, had a dream or something, woke up and he was like, "There's a memory leak," and then he fixed it. I was like, "Wait, what? Like, how does that work?" Well, but like, yeah, things happen at Worlds.
Yeah. So that experience must have been. Were you stressed out when that happened? Because I talked to John and he was like, "No, I was not that stressed out. I was pretty kept a level head at all times." Would you say you were like that, or were you more of like, "Oh my gosh, we need to get this done. What is going to happen if we don't do this?"
John is a pretty level-headed man. Like he basically shows no emotions, to be honest with you. So yeah, John was pretty calm. I'd say I wasn't too worried either because, well, I mean, for me, yeah, I didn't care. But I should say that. but like I was pretty confident that like they could probably figure it out in their code because like Anthony's been programming for like who knows how many years at this point. He's been on in first for like 10 years, and like we had backups. Like if it was like a hardware issue or something, like we could pretty easily replace the camera. And like we had time after the competitions to just like settle down and work on the robot.
Right. So when you talk about anti-defense mechanisms, in the end, what did you guys go with?
What did John do? So basically, like he came up with an idea. At the start of the match, he would have these two shafts that dropped out at the end of at like one of the sides of the robot. So if someone tried ramming us, they'd lose traction and go up instead.
That's
Yeah. John comes up with some like really good one.
Yeah, because I was seeing 7172's anti-defense. What they would do is they'd actually have, so they have their mechanism wheels, and then they have their normal. I think they use the normal wheels as well, and they had like a mechanism where they could lift up the mechanism wheels and put down actually good traction wheels with good torque and stuff. And so like they were able to fight off defense pretty well.
Yeah. Like I think we also did try doing something like that last year. It was implemented through code, but like basically you couldn't push the robot. It was like stay in place. Like you press the button and the robot would basically use all its power to stay in place, like based on encoder value.
So that's going to be it for part 1 of this episode. In part 2, there'll be some very interesting stuff about how FTC has leaked into other portions of Chambers' life. Make sure to subscribe to the channel with notifications on so you don't miss the video. Hope you all are doing well.